Hi everyone, it's Julie, and welcome back to my story time. So today is a special day in America. It is the day that a new president is sworn into office. It's called Inauguration Day. Also, the vice president is sworn into office as well. This book is entitled, If I Were President. This book is written by Catherine Stier and illustrated by DyAnne DiSalvo. I wonder how many of our presidents dreamed of becoming president when they were a child. I don't know that information. Maybe you do. But let's read about this book that says, If I Were President. The very first page gives us a little bit more information about the role of the president. So I want to read that to you. Two United States presidents, George Washington, the first president, and Abraham Lincoln, the 16th, are honored each February on President's Day. But who is the President of the United States, and what does the President do? Do you know who our new President is? Yeah, President Biden, that's right. And our Vice President is Vice President Harris. The President is leader of the country. Unlike kings and queens, presidents aren't born into their job. The people of the United States choose a president every 4 years. They vote for the person they want to run their country. But the president does not run the country alone. According to an important plan called the Constitution, written more than 200 years ago, a group of people called the Congress make the laws. Other people, called judges, explain the laws. Some of the president's work is probably fun, such as handing out medals or flying to a meeting in a private jet. But most of the time, the president works hard and must think about serious things, like how to spend the country's money and how to get along with other nations. The president helps make new laws and leads America's fighting forces. He, or maybe someday she, is also the leader of his political party, usually the Democrats or Republicans. The Constitution says a person must be born a citizen of the United States and have lived there for at least 14 years to be president. A person must also be 35 years old or older to hold the highest office in the land. That's it. So you have to be a U.S. citizen, you have to have lived here for at least 14 years, and you must be at least 35 years old. Are any of you eligible to be president yet? Not yet, but maybe one day. Perhaps someday you may choose and be chosen to take on this very important job. I wonder how many presidents dreamed of being president of the United States when they were children. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe you do. But let's read this story together. It would be great to be president of the United States. If I were president, that means after a big campaign with speeches and posters and TV ads, the people would have chosen me as their leader. Years of planning and hard work would have prepared me for that day. Do you see this building over here? Do you know what that building is called? It's the Capitol building. It's where the president is sworn into office. If I were president, I'd promise to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, because that would be my job. Then I'd move to a mansion called the White House with more than 100 rooms. And I'd have to remember my new address, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C. If I were president, I could go bowling or visit a movie theater without ever leaving my house. I'd have my own chef and could eat whatever I wanted. I could even have 2 desserts every night. You think so? Do you think that happens? Or maybe that's just a dream, because maybe 2 desserts every night would not be so good for us, right? Yeah. If I were president, I'd start work early each morning in the Oval Office. Although I'd try to do what's best for my country, not everyone would agree with my decisions. But I'd get help making those decisions from a group of people called my cabinet. Here, this is a picture of the Oval Office and people sitting around a table, the cabinet of the president, people that help them make decisions. If I were president, the people would be my boss, and I'd have to find out what they wanted. It wouldn't be easy. Different people would want different things. If I were president, I'd be in charge of the armed forces, the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. Did you hear that part that says, if I were president, the people would be my boss? So even though you're the leader of the country, all the people that voted you into office, and even those who voted for someone else, are the ones that you respond to because you lead their country. If I were president, each year I'd give a speech to Congress called the State of the Union. All over the country, people would be watching and listening. I'd talk about how our country was doing and suggest ways to solve our problems. Imagine creating laws for a whole country. That's something Congress and I would work on together. Congress would present bills, which are ideas for new laws. If I didn't like an idea, I'd say no. That's called a veto. But if I agreed, I'd sign the bill and make it a law. And if I were president, the agents of the Secret Service would guard me. Everywhere I'd go, they'd go too. See that right over here? The Secret Service. Looks like they've gone to a fun place right here, doesn't it? If I were president, I'd travel in my limousine or in my own private airplane called Air Force One. I'd meet with the leaders of other nations. Maybe together we could work to improve our world. If I were president, I'd comfort families that had been in an earthquake, hurricane, or flood. Then I'd help them rebuild their towns. If I were president, one of my favorite jobs would be passing out medals to people who had done brave deeds. If I were president in the spring, I'd toss the first pitch of the baseball season. And in winter, I'd light the nation's holiday tree. Those would be fun things to do. If I were president, my words and pictures would appear in newspapers and magazines all over the world. Even my dog would make the headlines. If you were the president, would you have a dog or a cat? some other kind of pet. If I were president, the house I grew up in would be famous. People would ask my mom for a tour and everything, even my tree house. I were president, the people could only elect me twice. That's 8 years altogether. Then I'd have to find a new job and a new house. Soon a new president with different ideas would move into the White House. But just like me, the new president would work hard for the good of the country. If I were president, they might someday make a statue of me, like the white marble statue of Abraham Lincoln in the Lincoln Memorial, or the president's heads carved at Mount Rushmore. Or someday my face might show up on the country's money. Did you know President Lincoln is on the penny? President Jefferson is on the nickel, and President Washington is on the dollar bill. Have you ever looked at what other presidents are on other bills, like the $5 and $10 and $20, $50, $100 bill, even more? You can look that all up on the internet. You can also look at real bills if your parents have any to look at. And who knows, someday I just might be president of the United States. The end. So what are some things that you would want to do if you were president of the United States? Why don't you share those with your family? And that would be a fun thing to talk about together. So on this inauguration day, as one president steps out and a new president steps in, we can all just be grateful that we live in a country where we get to elect a president and all of our other officials who serve our country. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.